And a very happy Thursday to you at 12:06 in the West. It's the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang's in Culver City.
John, after 5 months of being closed, I am proud to announce that the Santa Clara Public Health Department has deemed that the Whole Foods in Cupertino that was infested by rats can finally reopen.
Well, I'm sure all the families in Cupertino can't wait to do their grocery shopping there to buy the food for their families.
If you live in that area, even if they say the rats are gone, are you ever going to feel clean going into that supermarket?
My guess is no. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. The big news yesterday was that the Walt Disney Company announced that they are putting Jimmy Kimmel and his late-night program on ice. Jimmy Kimmel, of course, upset a lot of people when he came out and made a claim about the Charlie Kirk assassination that was factually incorrect. He said on September the 15th, and I quote, "We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it," end quote. Well, we of course know that the alleged shooter of Charlie Kirk was anything but MAGA. He was someone who in his own text messages was attacking his family for supporting MAGA and said that he shot Charlie Kirk because he thought Charlie Kirk was a hater. That doesn't make the shooter MAGA. In fact, it makes him the exact opposite. Apparently, the Walt Disney Company started getting some phone calls, and they called Jimmy Kimmel, and they asked him to go on the air and correct the record. He told the Walt Disney Company to pound sand. He said he would talk about it, but he would not correct the statement that he made on September the 15th. After he told the Walt Disney Company that he would not correct the record, they decided it was time for him to go in the penalty box. Joining us to talk about this is the former producer of The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, author of Behind the Curtain, which talks about his time spent working for The Tonight Show and with Jay Leno, available online at Amazon.com. Dave Berg, welcome.
Thank you for having me on, John.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. And I'm curious to get your take on this because I'll tell you, the Walt Disney Company used to own this radio company. And I did a talk show on the radio for the Walt Disney Company for many years. And Burbank is where they're headquartered. And Burbank is in the listening area of KABC. So our radio station was in a different place than most radio stations because the executives at Disney could listen in real time to what we were doing on the radio. And if we said something that was factually false, not talking about opinions here, but I'm talking about a statement of fact that was false, and they became aware of it, and they asked us to correct the record, if we refused to do that, we wouldn't be on their airwaves. It was that simple. It didn't happen all the time, thankfully, but every once in a while, someone would get something wrong, and if it made enough news to be on their radar, they reacted, and they would tell you to correct the record, and that's the way they operate. And you don't say no to your boss when they tell you to do something. You either do it or you go play in someone else's candy store. Your thoughts on what happened to Jimmy Kimmel?
Right. Well, that's the way it works, John, not only at Disney. But I do think Jimmy Kimmel has an unfortunate personality where he's sort of a combination of arrogance and ignorance, and those two, they don't go well together. And just think about it. On Monday, not only did he get it wrong about Tyler Robinson, the alleged murderer, but don't forget, he has a staff made up of writers, producers. He has a head writer, an executive producer. They all got it wrong. I mean, how out of touch do you have to be to make a remark that he did, and then on top of it, to refuse to apologize. You have to be really, really isolated to do that, I think. Now, as you said, that he was planning to discuss it, but he never planned to apologize. The plan was last night he would address the backlash, and he would say it in such a way that his remarks were taken out of context, but he was not going to apologize. Well, first of all, how can remarks like that be taken out of context? There's no context there. He was just wrong.
During your time at The Tonight Show, if you guys got something factually wrong, I'm not talking about a joke that people found distasteful. I'm not talking about a guest that people thought was too hot for network television. I'm not talking about something where there was a subjective argument that could be made where this is our taste level. It may not be yours, but we're comfortable doing this. I'm talking about a statement of fact where Jay comes out and says, I don't know, the moon is made out of green cheese, and NBC comes and they say, look, here's the proof. The moon is, in fact, not made out of green cheese, and we want you to go on and we want you to correct the record because we do not want an association with information that we know is false. Did you ever get any pushback at all during your time at The Tonight Show at NBC correcting a factual error?
Well, let me tell you, I not only worked at The Tonight Show, but prior to that, I worked at NBC Network News based in Burbank. And I have to tell you that the standards for getting it right were even higher at The Tonight Show than at NBC News. If I briefed Jay, then that's what I would do. I would book the guests and help prepare the segments, and I would brief him about the guests. And if I gave him the wrong information, I heard about it. That was a huge no-no.
And it came from the top. It came from Jay wanting to be factually correct. When he went out and did a joke, he wanted the premise, the facts that were claimed in the premise of the joke to be correct. He wanted to make sure that when he had a guest out there, that he was asking questions that were based in fact, and he got all of his ducks in a row.
Exactly. And there was the same applied to jokes, by the way. There's the saying, never let the facts get in the way of a good joke. But the same thing applied to the jokes.
What's crazy about it, and I read the quote that at the beginning of the segment, is there was no punchline there. There was no joke. There was no fun to be had. That was a political statement that he was making, a factually incorrect political statement, but a political statement on what is supposed to be a comedy show. He wasn't going for a joke. He wasn't going for a punchline. He wasn't trying to be lighthearted. That was a serious political statement that he was making that was untrue, that was, I guess, designed to please his audience, whoever it is that he perceives his audience to be, and to rile up who he regards as the opposition.
That's exactly true. And it's really strange about Kimmel. He has veered to the left for quite a number of years now, and I'm not quite sure why he did. You have to remember, this is the guy that hosted with Adam Carolla The Man Show, which The Man Show was about, having women in bikinis jumping up and down on trampolines. So he was not really politically inclined back then, but somehow I'm not sure what motivated him. Maybe he thought that was, the way you're supposed to be if you want to fit in Hollywood. I don't know. But he's been to the left for quite a number of years now, and it's not helping him with his ratings. He's sort of like a second-rate Colbert.
When Colbert was canceled, you came on this program, and one of the subjects that we talked about was the economics of putting a late-night network show on the air. And even though he was the number one late-night host, he was still losing money and losing it to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. Jimmy Kimmel was not doing as well as Colbert in the ratings. I would imagine that if Colbert was not profitable, Jimmy Kimmel was losing money too.
Yes, that's exactly right. And we both know that's what this whole thing is about. I wish I had the exact figures. I couldn't track them down, but that show is losing millions. I don't know if it's in the same amount as Colbert, but that show is number 3 in the ratings. And by the way, I don't know why ABC has been so loyal to Kimmel over the years. He's always been number 3 or way, way down. He's never really resonated with people, but this is really all about ratings. And I do think that when Nexstar and Sinclair, which owned all 70 ABC stations, and said we're not going to air his programming anymore, that had a lot to do with not only community standards, but the fact that he wasn't bringing in the numbers.
Here's what I don't understand. If you're going to do a serious show, or what you regard as a serious show, where you talk about politics, you have politicians and pundits as guests on your show, you give your own personal opinion, and you do a talk show pretty much with that framework night in and night out. What I just described is cable news. If you watch a talk show on MSNBC or CNN or Fox or Newsmax or whatever, that's the format that they use. You don't need a band. You don't need network television. You don't need a live studio audience. You don't need an expensive theater. What you need is a television factory, the kind that you see at these cable networks, where you just have the host and a desk and the guests and the satellite connections, and you can do it for $2 if you want to. You don't need all of those expenditures that you have for a late night show. You have those expenditures for a late night show because those shows are meant to have A-list actors opening a movie, people who are on successful television programs on that particular network, bands who are hot and selling out arenas, comics who are hot and selling out comedy studios. If you're not going to have those people on your show, you don't need all the bells and whistles. All you need is a set over at 30 Rock or a set over at the Fox News studios.
You just nailed it. I mean, look, it's fascinating. Look at Greg. You just described what Greg Gutfeld is doing. He just has a studio and he has a panel of guests, and half of the guests are just made up of Fox talent. So they don't even have to bring in other people half the time. And guess who's number 1 in late night? It's Greg Gutfeld. By far, he's number 1. Now, it's interesting that the mainstream media, they never acknowledge Gutfeld as a late night show, but that's exactly what he is. He does his monologue. He interviews his guests. It's mostly for fun, and it's extremely successful. So you're absolutely right about that.
According to the New York Post, Jimmy Kimmel is furious over what happened. And I'll tell you, that is totally within the character of the person I know from television. Never met him in person, but just know him from television. And there is a sense of entitlement that he has. I don't know if it's because he's the only late night host on ABC, where on NBC you have Seth Meyers after The Tonight Show. You had a show that came on after Colbert for many years on CBS with James Corden and others. Because he's the only one in that particular shop, maybe for that reason, maybe for other reasons, I don't know. There's a sense of entitlement that he has always had. And if he is stomping his feet and throwing a temper tantrum right now, I think that's more evidence that leads me to believe that that guy felt like that time slot belonged to him, that he owned it, not the network.
And that may be partly because ABC, for reasons I do not understand, or Disney, has always been loyal to him, even though he's never really resonated with the audience. And yes, my understanding is he is absolutely livid, and he's so livid. He's not. I mean, the Wall Street Journal has been reporting that maybe Disney would work out a deal with him and he would be back on the air as early as next Monday. I don't think that's going to happen. my understanding, he's looking for ways to get out of his contract, which ends at the end of this year. And he's angry about the whole thing. Entitled. You used the word entitled. He is so angry that he plans to encourage his friends never to appear on ABC shows. And that brings up the FCC. I don't know why the FCC commissioner had to get involved. I mean, Jimmy Kimmel has been destroying himself. The fact that the FCC got involved was really, an overreach by the government and absolutely unnecessary.
ABC has another show that does the same thing as Jimmy Kimmel and frequently gets the facts wrong. Although, to their credit, they do read legal disclaimers and they do correct the record on a regular basis because the attorneys are sitting right there on set. I'm, of course, speaking of The View, the daytime talk show. Given what just happened to Jimmy Kimmel, what do you think the future holds for The View?
Well, it's interesting because guess what The View, none of the ladies on The View, guess what they didn't talk about today? They did
Jimmy
not bring
Kimmel.
up Kimmel's name. Yeah. So, by the way, I think The View, I watch it because I think it's funnier than Kimmel. It's outright funny, but I do think they better watch their, P's and Q's.
Dave Berg, former producer of The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. The book is Behind the Curtain, available online at Amazon.com. If you were a fan of late night TV before it became this, buy the book. It's a number of great stories. It'll take you back to the golden era of late night TV. Available online at Amazon.com. Dave, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you, John.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, if you want to go back and listen to a show from earlier in the week or earlier in the year, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcast, whether it's the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. You can do a Google on the YouTube, get the KABC app, get the KSFO app. Maybe you want to go back a week and hear about crime in Oakland.
It's happened yet again.
Maybe you want to go back 2 weeks and look at a story we did on crime in Oakland.
It's happened yet again.
Maybe you want to go back 3 weeks and see if there's a story about crime in Oakland.
It's happened yet again.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. And Randy, tomorrow you and I are going to be in Sherman Oaks.
And it's not going to rain. So make sure you get out to Pineapple Hill in Sherman Oaks tomorrow from noon to 3 for a live broadcast of The John Phillips Show. There's going to be great food, great drinks, that beautiful covered patio right there in the back. We'll have special guests like Susan Shelley from the Howard Jarvis Taxpayer Association. As the courts have made it easier to raise your taxes, come by, sign the petition to save Prop 13, have lunch with us, take some pictures, and let's all have a great time on Jimmy Buffett Friday at the Pineapple Hill in Sherman Oaks from noon to 3.
In the meantime, what do you say we make a couple of listeners very happy?
Well, let's do that right now. 790 KABC welcomes Megyn Kelly live with special guests Jillian Michaels, Fifth Column, and Maureen Callahan at the Honda Center in November 21st. Tickets on sale now at MegynKelly.com, but right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-795-2222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets furnished by Sabretooth Touring. Good luck dialing.
Right now, it's time to open up the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And we're all in luck because we get Ed Lascos 2 days in a row.
Yeah, but this one's not nearly as fun as the Benihana brawl. This is a woman that got attacked with a crowbar.
Uh-oh.
How crazy is that?
For more, here's Fox 11 and the man, the myth, the legend, Ed Lascos.
And it's on like Donkey Kong.
New at 10, a scary situation for a woman in Rosemaid. She runs into a restaurant, a man threatening her with a crowbar, and he then brutally attacks her right in front of customers. Let's go live to Fox 11's Ed Lascos there in Rosemead. He is talking to people who saw it all go down, who witnessed it. Ed?
And to put it frankly, as to what an eyewitness told us, Marla, those folks are freaked out by what they saw, a violent attack, and it is an unprovoked attack. You have a woman walking down the sidewalk along Valley Boulevard. She says she notices a guy walking behind her, following her, threatening in a threat.
This better not be the new TikTok trend.
Okay, here's a question. Whenever you hear a story in the news about a crowbar, it's usually about the crowbar being used as a weapon, correct?
Yes.
Do you ever hear stories about crowbars saving the day?
Not often.
That's what I'm thinking.
Occasionally, they're used to open up big boxes, but most of the time, they're involved in some kind of violent act.
That's what I'm thinking.
Threatening in a threatening manner, waving around a crowbar of all things. She's scared to death, makes a run for it into a restaurant, trying to escape, screaming, "Call 911," and then watch. First responders rush in as a woman is down inside this restaurant after a violent attack. Security video shows it going down. The woman runs in, and so does her attacker. He's beating her. It's an attack with a crowbar.
He runs into the restaurant to get this beating going? What the hell?
Okay, for the record, if anyone is ever approaching me in a restaurant or anywhere else for that matter, and they have a crowbar in their hand, I'm going in the opposite direction.
While the customers off to the right, see them there? Maybe a half dozen or so. They can't believe it. They're freaked out.
Really bad. Everyone in here was freaked out. Everybody was just like, couldn't do anything because everyone was afraid to get hit next, you know? We all had to stand there.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult to intervene when he's got the crowbar and you've got, what, your dinner fork?
Hey, honey, why don't you do something about that? Marge, I need to get involved in this situation like I need a crowbar to the head.
We all had to stand there and just watch him beat the lady.
He's a witness who wants to protect his identity. You can't blame him after this unprovoked attack.
Does he think he's going to get crowbarred if he's on the news?
I don't know.
Even as the woman falls down, the attacker keeps swinging away, swinging, hitting her legs, even without saying why.
He wasn't talking or anything. He was just hitting her really bad. And then he just took off.
He just kept swinging it with that metal bar.
Yeah, it was like a crowbar or something. Yeah.
The woman still down when first responders get there, saying the attacker followed her on the sidewalk, waving that crowbar, threatening her. She's scared to death and runs inside the restaurant just to try and escape.
She told us to call 911, so I called 911 right away.
That call to 911 late Sunday from the Sweetheart Dessert Restaurant just a few blocks away from City Hall in the heart of Rosemead's Asian American community, where customers are still in shock, keeping a watch out for this crowbar swinging attacker. Take a good look at this guy, about 30 years old, dressed all in black, wearing a baseball cap backwards and a black mask, wanted before he strikes again.
I really hope.
Like, what was the plan here?
And if you're going out into public dressed like that and it's not in the middle of the throes of COVID, you should be setting off every red flag imaginable.
I really hope to catch the guy from that night, you know, because it's really sad what happened to that lady.
And now live, that is the hope right through this community this late hour. They want an arrest ASAP. We already know this guy is violent. He's armed with that crowbar. Luckily, the woman who was attacked expected to be okay. Investigators say it appears they do not know each other. But you want to know the craziest part of this story?
It gets crazier than stranger attacks woman over and over again with a crowbar for no reason.
I can't wait to hear about this left turn.
It wasn't a robbery. The purse is down as the lady's on the ground. He never makes a grab to grab her purse, leaves it there, and he runs out. So the mystery as to why this violent attack happens, still don't know. For now, we're live. Rosemead, back to the west side we go.
Really is a mystery. All right, Ed, thank you.
So, didn't commit a robbery, wasn't trying to get her purse, wasn't trying to get her money, just decided to whack her over and over again with a crowbar just 'cause. That'll make you sleep well at night.
How about this as an answer to the mystery? Drugs.
Definitely a possibility.
All right, Randy, it's time to reopen the blotter.
If the cashier is dummy,
And this one takes us to West Hills,
where neighbors are concerned that drones are casing their neighborhood for break-ins. For more, here's KTLA 5.
Now to a story you will see only on 5. Neighbors in West Hills fear burglars are turning to drones to case homes they want to hit. A resident has surveillance video that shows several flashlight beams shining onto her property.
That video also shows a drone high in the sky. Mary Beth McDade live in West Hills with a story you'll see only on 5. Mary Beth.
See the police.
Can you imagine seeing a drone over your house and you go, okay, this is someone that's casing my house out to rob it. So I'm going to take a bow and arrow and I'm going to knock that baby right out of the sky. And the next thing you get is a bill in the mail from State Farm saying, hey, what'd you do to our drone when we were trying to drop you from your policy?
Yeah, Mike and Jared, for the past few years, we've seen criminals hiding cameras in bushes to case homes. And now one West Hills woman fears that someone may be using a drone to case hers.
Last Saturday, we were at home and we got a call from the neighbor or a text and said somebody's in your backyard with flashlights.
This West Hills woman says that her and her husband then ran to their backyard.
We ran out here. We turned on the lights. We ran out. Nobody was here. So I then went back to the cameras. And you see them here for about an hour.
Not only did she...
An hour?
That's a long time.
Not only did she see suspicious flashlights on her security camera video, but she also saw a drone flying over her backyard.
That's why, I'm panicked and whatever. So what I did is we went out and got all the lights that you see, the floodlights, and I've got motion cameras and putting it up today.
And you got a pit bull.
And I got a pit bull.
Well, don't tell Michael Vick.
Second pit bull. I already have one. I just rescued a second one.
She tells us.
Just for protection?
Okay, this woman is going to have an untimely death one way or the other.
Why would you say that?
I don't know what's going to happen, but when she dies, the obit is going to be in the AP.
She tells us this is particularly frightening after burglars broke into her home last November.
It's beyond scary. It angers me, You feel violated, especially when you see them walking in your yard at nighttime with flashlights.
She says they got away with her safe that had several pieces of jewelry, which were cherished family heirlooms.
John, what have we said over and over and over and over and over again on this show?
Safes don't work. In fact, they just indicate to the criminals that something of value is in there. And then they're either going to take the safe entirely or they're just going to pop it open like a walnut.
It's not even the monetary part of it. It's things from my mom. She passed away in 2012, so I had a lot of things from her that I was going to give to my grandkids. So it's heartbreaking.
This is a PSA for a safe deposit box.
Yeah, well, that stuff is now gone. So if you want something from your mom now, you're going to have to buy a ticket to see Tyler Henry.
And she says what makes this even scarier is that the burglars that stole her safe in November have still not been caught for now.
Well, we knew that.
Anything in L.A. County ends with the line, and the suspects are still on the loose.
Been caught. For now, reporting live here in West Hills, Mary Beth McDade. We'll send it back to you guys in this studio.
So there's the latest out of what's going on in West Hills as drones might be casing homes for more burglaries.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. The Fix California Hour coming up after the news at 1. Alex Michelson joins us. So make sure you stick around for that. But right now it's time to reopen the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And Randy, every so often there's an addition to the blotter that ends up in the mailbag over and over and over again. The listeners watch the local news. They see a crime that's so bonkers on their favorite channel, and they know it would make an excellent addition to the blotter, so they send it to us. So this one comes by popular demand.
What's so funny about those emails is 99 out of 100 times, I already have that sound. You can't get one past me. I do this every day, but we love it when I know that we're on the same wavelength. So in San Jose, there's a chain of coffee houses that has said enough is enough. We're sick of all the break-ins. No more cash for coffee.
If you want Java in the morning, you better have a line of credit.
For more, here's KTVU, Fox 2.
A new policy because they've had too many break-ins. Voyager Coffee says beginning today, its coffee shops will no longer use cash. KTVU's James Torres is outside the shop's headquarters in San Jose to tell us why that change is necessary. Good morning, James.
Good morning. You know what's funny, Randy? We understand why they robbed the 7-Elevens because there are things of value in there. The ATM, cigarettes, lottery tickets seem to be stolen a lot too, although we can trace those. Jewelry stores, there are items of great value in jewelry stores. I understand that. But we've been doing a lot of stories lately about bakeries being robbed. And I just don't understand the belief that there's huge money in selling scones and selling lattes.
There's not a whole lot of aftermarket for day-old baked goods that you can sell in the Tenderloin or in the Soma district of San Francisco. But here we go. Coffee shops getting robbed of their espresso and cash, I guess.
Good morning to you, Dave. Well, this is one of 6 locations that you would see all throughout Santa Clara County. This is where they make the coffee and they distribute it out to all those different cafes. Its owners announcing on Facebook over the weekend that over the last 10 years, their stores have been broken into more than 20 times. And the most concerning part...
20 times?
For what? What could you possibly get breaking into a store that sells coffee? Packets of Equal?
I think they use Splenda now.
Whatever.
As a lot of these thieves would come in...
As long as it gives cancer to lab mice, you know what I'm talking about.
As a lot of these thieves would come in overnight, late night, sometimes before these doors even open. And a lot of these workers are usually here at some point 24 hours a day, whether they're roasting the coffee, baking some of these pastries, and they would come face to face with some of these criminals entering the store. The store leadership and management posted a screenshot of one of their most recent break-ins on their Facebook page, saying that this was the 3rd time this has happened in 3 weeks.
3rd time in 3 weeks?
I'd love to see that all points bulletin. All right. We're looking for a man who appears to be in his 30s, wearing dark clothes, maybe 185, 190 pounds, and he's riding on Juan Valdez's stolen donkey.
At 3 of their 6 locations. That usually means thieves are coming in, breaking the glass, stealing the cash, in some cases stealing the safe as well. The team...
Oh, why do you even have a safe?
Don't bother with the safes.
I mean,
just put it in a can of U-Ban.
This is why I totally understand and I totally support going cashless. People have Venmo. People have credit cards. You get your 3X points or your 4X points if you get the MX Gold. Who's still using cash to buy coffee? What's wrong with you?
Well, it's people who are off the grid. For example, I know plenty of people who live here but claim Nevada residency, and they buy all of their coffee with cash.
Got to stay there for at least 181 days, huh?
Or you got to use cash.
The team writing, quote, "The safety of our baristas and guests is our top priority, and we can no longer risk putting them in harm's way." Adding that the decision was not made lightly and all made to protect its employees and the community.
Of course, we know what happened in Los Angeles when restaurants who are facing repeat burglaries wanted to do this. The LA City Council went after those restaurants because they said that's not equitable.
Well, and let's just look at it from the point of view of the employee. There are certain jobs where you know if you take those jobs, there's an element of risk. If you're a race car driver, if you're an astronaut, if you work at a 7-Eleven on the overnight shift. But you don't think you're putting your life on the line to sell lattes at 7 in the morning.
Do you remember when Heather Hutt went on with Marla Tejas and Alex Michelson at Fox 11, the LA City Councilwoman, to explain why banning cash is racist, and then she had the most bizarre math I've ever seen?
Oh, yeah. Carry the 4, divide by 2.
Little more than that.
I have some figures here that say FDIC says that 7.4% of all California households are unbanked and underbanked, and 17% of them are households that are single-parent unbanked. That's about a quarter of California.
No, it's not.
Boy, the California public school system really does a bang-up job, don't they?
And by the way, if there's that many people that don't have a bank account, isn't that a failure of the government?
Voyager Coffee says they are allowing a grace period, so stores will still take cash up until the end of the month. But then after that, only credit, debit cards, and payment apps like Venmo will be accepted. I just spoke to the owner of Voyager about all of these changes. You'll hear more from him coming up in the next hour. We are live this morning in San Jose. I'm James Torres, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Thank you, James.
So there you go. The coffee chain in San Jose saying screw it to cash starting next month.
Okay, let's get Heather Hutt's math lesson one more time.
I have some figures here that say FDIC says that 7.4% of all California households are unbanked and underbanked, and 17% of them are households that are single-parent unbanked. That's about a quarter of California.
And this is why our school system stinks. She can't add, subtract, multiply, or divide. The only thing she knows is that Columbus gave Elizabeth Warren syphilis.
And she makes $220,000 a year. Explain that.
I want a refund on my taxes. In fact, I want all of it back. Disgraceful. All right, we've got 2 more hours coming up on the John Phillips Show. The Fix California Hour is next. We're going to check in with our pal Alex Michelson. Don't you go anywhere.